Hello partners! Hey, our video salute this week, as prepared by my longtime researcher and writer Dennis Daly, is about a most unusual woman. As a matter of fact, this female American patriot was so determined to do what was right that she allowed herself to be scorned and made fun of. Her name, Mary Edwards Walker. The first thing you could have noticed about her, if you'd met her back in the late 1800s, was that she wore pants all the time. Now partners, today it's perfectly okay for women to dress as they wish, but back then a woman who wore pants was considered to be an outlaw and a weirdo. But our honoree this week, Mary Edwards Walker, didn't care. She thought that being comfortable and being able to go anywhere to do what her work called her to do was much more important than adhering to the dress code of that time. You see, the main reason she wore pants is so she could easily move on the battlefield. What? Yes, Mary Edwards Walker was one of the few female doctors of her time and served with distinction on the battlefield during the American Civil War. Mary was often thought of to be a man, at least from a distance. She cut her hair short. She liked it that way because doctors were in such short supply during the Civil War. She applied to the War Department to become an Army surgeon. Golly, even though she had graduated near the top of her class in medical school, she was turned down because, yeah, you guessed it, she was a woman. But that didn't stop Mary. She immediately let it be known that she was willing to volunteer at no pay to go anywhere to help wounded soldiers. Bless her heart. But because of the prejudice against women in the medicine, the latest job she could get was working as a nurse. Can you imagine what this did to poor Mary's ego after years of medical school and a degree as a surgeon? She was working as a lowly nurse. Wow. She once told a friend that every time she was treating a patient in the hospital, she imagined she could hear the guns and cannons of the war in the distance. She knew young boys were suffering. She wanted to be there with them. Then finally, in the second year of the Civil War, she finally got the chance. Mary would be allowed to work on the battlefield, but she would not get paid. She immediately dropped everything she was doing and headed for the nearest battlefield. Mary, throughout the war, dressed in pants and with short cropped hair, Mary Edwards Walker worked nearly day and night to save the lives of countless wounded soldiers. Then in 1864, she was taken prisoner by the rebels. She was behind bars for nearly a year when a prisoner exchange was worked out. She was released and returned to the well-known Confederate doctor as a separate. He got out, and so they were both just exchanged. When the war was over, Mary went to work as a surgeon in a women's prison. On the final years of her life, she worked in the orphanage. In 1917, 2 years before her death, she received a phone call. It was from a Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, James Clark. He asked Mary if she felt like coming to Washington. "We have a little present for you, Mary," the Speaker told her. So Mary made her way to Washington. In a big ceremony, she became the only woman to ever be awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. Patriots, you hear me? That's right, the only woman to ever receive that honor. In the final 2 years of her life, she wore the medal every time she left the house. Sadly, the male-dominated Congress took her medal away. Decades later, when Jimmy Carter was president in 1977, the medal was reissued to Mary in a special ceremony attended by members of her family. What an amazing woman. She was a female doctor in a time when that was very rare. She wore pants and sometimes a top hat. She cut her hair short. She endured the laughter to go on to be the only woman ever awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. Bless her heart. Mary Walker Edwards, the most unusual American patriot. Okay, partners, you know the drill. Look up there and find that big red X at the top right. Click on it. You'll be whished right back here for this week's rest of the report. I love you guys. I love this woman. What a great story. Dennis, you just keep outdoing yourself, giving us new people to see that are so important that are almost forgotten. I love you guys. I love being able to do this. I just have one more big thing to say. Go get 'em, Tigers!